The campaign for Delta Force was just released, and it's something that I was not expecting at all when it came to how this actually plays out. And based on the Steam reviews, it seems like it's not living up to a lot of other people's expectations as well. Well, I had a chance to jump in and play the Delta Force campaign, and it's something rather refreshing, yet familiar at the same time.
Kevin, do you see the RPG?
I'm reloading!
Now I do. I also think that there are some benefits to this type of campaign, but also some negatives that I think we really need to talk about. So if you want to know everything, make sure to stay tuned throughout the whole video to understand all the details. Now, like I mentioned in a previous video, Delta Force is a game I've been keeping my eye on because I am a big Battlefield fan. And with the recent releases of that franchise being lackluster or something I'm just not interested in playing, I felt like Delta Force was a great chance to come in and basically make 2042 but like a good version of it. And in a lot of cases, it seems to be doing just that. I've been hopping on, playing a little bit, but when I found out that this game has a free campaign that was going to be launching with it later on, I was like, okay, it'll be very interesting, especially since it's using a different engine, as it's using the Unreal 5 engine compared to the multiplayer that uses Unreal Engine 4. So when it launched, I jumped in, downloaded and played it, and it was definitely not what I was expecting, because I was expecting to have the same type of gameplay experience you have with the multiplayer, but then just copy those mechanics over to the campaign. That's not what happened at all. When it comes to the gameplay of this campaign, that your movement is so much slower than the multiplayer side of things, to the point I was like, wow, this is something completely different. And very similar to the operations mode, that you do have a stamina bar, but I did feel like I was hitting that exhaustion limit quite often when it comes to playing, and something that I was really not enjoying when it comes to the movement of the game. I felt like I was constantly getting tired and having to wait till I catch my breath. And I can understand the design behind this campaign being much more slower, much more methodical and tactical, so that you would utilize your stamina properly, but it felt like a lot of times were how fast the gameplay was at moments where I had to get from point A to B to keep up with either the AI or a caravan so the trucks weren't blown up, but I was constantly fighting against the fatigue. It was pretty rough. Now, the gunplay in this is surprisingly just basically copy and pasted over from the multiplayer, which is something I'm happy with, because I thought the gunplay in Delta Force feels really good, especially on mouse and keyboard. And they kind of kept the class system with the campaign, as it's much more of a team synergy kind of thing, rather than everyone having their crazy high-tech special abilities. You have your ammo guy, your heals guy, sniper support, things like that. It's not nearly as wild as the multiplayer, which I'm actually all for that. As a lot of times with the multiplayer, it can get very arcadey and over the top, and I can definitely tell with this campaign that they're really trying for a much more grounded, not say realistic, but have much more tactical experience when it comes to trying to play this campaign. And the one thing I'm really enjoying about this campaign right now is that it is an actual challenge. Like, getting through these levels is not easy. You need to make sure that your team is coordinated and effective in these matches, because there are so many enemies in so many different locations. And failure is a very easy option to have when it comes to playing. Like in the first mission, you have to save these hostages, and if any of them get shot by one bullet or take any explosion damage, they're dead and the mission starts back over. No, you can't shoot
bro.
You can't shoot the man. Similar thing with the second mission, we have to follow this caravan of vehicles, but then if they get hit with any RPGs, they blow up, and once all the vehicles in the caravan are done, then you lose the mission.
Oh shit.
Well, let me cover the vehicle. Blows up right away. Making sure your team is coordinated and effective definitely requires you to play with players that you're probably familiar with, or at least have a group of people that you can kind of trust that they can complete their own thing. I tried playing it solo queue, jumping in with some randoms online, and definitely had my fair share of frustrations with that. You know, randoms shooting the hostages for whatever reason, or they just keep on constantly dying, so you have to keep on utilizing your resources to keep bringing them back up to just die again. I do want to say that the environments in this game look fantastic, along with the lighting. Just the visual presentation is really well done. It looks so nice in Unreal Engine 5. I know when I say Unreal Engine 5, it kind of triggers people instantly, because they go, oh my god, it's an unoptimized, buggy mess. And while while some of the reviews on Steam, which have really hit it pretty hard of being mostly negative, have stated that that's kind of been their biggest issue, is that the performance is not nearly as good as it is when it comes to the multiplayer side of things. But for me, playing on a build that meets just above their recommended specs and playing on, I think, believe like on high preset, I never noticed any issues with technical issues with the game. Like, I thought the game ran well enough. I didn't track my frame rates, but I know I was getting at least above 60 or 72 frames for my monitor, so I was having a rather smooth experience there. I wasn't having any crashing or any weird bugs or anything, and I wouldn't expect this campaign to run as well as the multiplayer, because the multiplayer side of things of Delta Force run really effectively well, especially with it being on Unreal Engine 4, and the graphics are not nearly as intense, that you can get up to like 140 plus frames. Where this campaign, you can definitely tell you're not designed to get that kind of frame rate or that performance, right? But you're able to maintain like 60 plus frames, rather consistent in like 1440p, if your hardware meets up to the recommended specs. But back on the environment side of things, I did actually find it rather surprising how many different ways you can progress through some levels, right? The first one's very much on rails and kind of takes you down a golden path. The second mission, you get a little bit more opening when it comes to like how you progress through the level and things like that. The third mission is where you really have a lot of different options of where you can really kind of run around. Actually, I was getting big favela vibes from Modern Warfare 2. So I did like the player choice when it came to how you actually progress through these levels and how you decide to attack different situations. But the campaign isn't anything like massive or anything like that. Just over here on IGN, who had like a first look at it, they did state that the campaign runs about 3 to 4 hours in length, depending, I guess, like how good you are. If you're a good player and with a good squad, you can probably get this done within 3 hours or so, just because there are not that many missions, like 7 missions or something like that. It's not too in-depth of a campaign. It's definitely focused much more on the gameplay experience. There really isn't much of a story setup or anything like that. Like, you're just playing in a war-torn area. A helicopter falls down, then you have to go save them. But I said earlier in this video that this campaign is something completely different than what I was expecting, because with this campaign, there are some positives and some negatives beyond just like the gameplay experience itself, which is rather fun. The biggest issue I'd say is that it has like an always online component to it, which nowadays modern games, that's kind of a standard thing, so I'm not too torn up about that. But it does seem like it's designed to be co-op gameplay focused online kind of thing. Because I tried playing the solo, and the thing is that this game does not scale down at all when it comes to the amount of players you have on your team. And there's no AI that would fill in those open slots either of your squad of 4. So either you're running in solo, or oftentimes, like I did while playing on stream, running with an X squad of 3 randoms made through matchmaking, and that gameplay experience can be very inconsistent. My initial impression when I heard there was going to be a campaign for Delta Force, I was like, okay, a cool single player type of experience that has co-op as an option as well. Kind of similar to what we have with like Halo, with like the campaign's definitely designed to be played in single player, but if you want to bring some friends in for co-op, the game does scale up properly for that. Delta Force doesn't do that at all. It has one level of difficulty that's really hard, and you need to have a full team to be able to do this. I tried jumping in solo, and I was like, okay, there's just too many angles, too many people, my health is too low, my movement's too slow, I get hurt way too easily. Then I was like, playing this solo, this is more like I want to mentally break myself kind of challenge rather than anything that would be fun. There's one really weird thing when it comes to the performance of this campaign, is that it opens on top of the game that's already opened in your system. So what I'm trying to say is, like, it opens up Delta Force, and then it opens up Delta Force Black Hawk Down on top of that. So then you have 2 games running at the same time. Where I did notice, like when I had my task manager open, that the original Delta Force that's running took about like 3 to 5 CPU percentage of my available bandwidth on that, which really isn't anything too crazy. Again, like I'm rolling with like a Ryzen 9 5700X if I remember correctly, so it's not like a crazy high-end CPU, but definitely capable. But for anyone out there who has more of a lower tier system, that extra 3 to 5% on this kind of system could definitely be more of 5 to 15 to maybe even 20% kind of degradation on your system, to know that like it'll make it unplayable for you because you have basically 2 different EXEs running at the same time. So the reason why I feel that this campaign is getting heavily downvoted, a lot of dislikes on Steam specifically, again, like I said earlier, mostly negative when it comes to the reviews. Just looking at it right here on Steam, you can say mostly negative with over 1,000 reviews at 36%. That's like saying that this is a really bad experience. And I would say this is a really unfair number to give this campaign right now. Like I said, I've only gone through the first 3 missions because I don't have a full squad of people who want to play Delta Force and try playing with randoms, and it's rather frustrating, as you could probably expect. But I actually was pleasantly surprised by the difficulty of this. Like, this isn't really meant to be like a campaign where you kind of experience a story with characters and things like that. This is very gameplay focused, and just like the levels aren't like too crazy expansive, right? But they're not like these crazy epic large things. They have some pretty cool set piece moments in there as well, but it's very gameplay focused and very much focused on giving the players a challenge to get your way through it. Like, if you get through the entire campaign of Delta Force, you feel like you accomplished something. This isn't like Battlefield campaign or Call of Duty campaign or really any other kind of average first-person shooter type campaign where it's more like on rails, and as long as you don't do anything dumb, then you'll be getting through it, just kind of breezing through it just fine, unless you're playing on some insanely hard difficulty. The game is on an insanely high difficulty. It's basically like playing Halo 2 Legendary with a bunch of Jackal snipers on, and you have to make a cool, calculated, perfect run to complete these missions. So I think a lot of the reviews right now on Steam are more about like a knee-jerk reaction of getting something that they weren't expecting, right? Because of how similar the gameplay and experience is with Battlefield, you're kind of expecting like a Battlefield-like campaign, right? And that's just not the case at all, but I actually appreciate that more because it helps this campaign stand out. And if anything, it might give us some more replayability since it's so gameplay focused. And I could definitely see like if we're doing effective runs when it comes to this campaign and seeing people like really optimizing the experience of playing. But yeah, I would say the downvotes on this, the mostly negative reviews, are not very warranted. I'd say that the campaign so far is good. It's just something very different than I think a lot of people were expecting. What's your experience been with the Delta Force campaign? Let me know in the comments down below. If you guys made it this far in the video, hope you earned your like, maybe even a subscribe. And if you are one of the people who made it to the end of the video, leave a green heart in the comments. Let me know who the real ones are. But thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.